Very good evening and welcome to BCN News. Government has highlighted financial obligations are being met despite cash flow challenges. The Premier and Minister for Finance and Planning, Honourable Dalton Tangilangi, told the Assembly last week that vigilant financial management and prudent decision-making is essential for the transition or cut-off period leading to the new financial year. He said government will ensure that the ongoing financial obligations for fuel, priority road maintenance, health supplies, salaries and pensions are being met. He has also asked for support towards local businesses and hold back on big items from overseas till the government is financially stable. Despite the Premier's speech about prudent fiscal spending, in the same sitting of the Fono Ekepule last week, two motions were put forward requesting more spending by government. Common Roll member Stanley Kalauni had put forward two motions, one of which was to purchase urgently 2 bulldozers, and a question from veteran MP Terry Koh asking why the national broadcaster has not provided one free television channel. The motion for the procurement of 2 bulldozers was unanimously supported by the Fono Ekepule, including the Minister of Natural Resources, Honourable Mona Ainu. If supported by Cabinet, the purchase of the 2 bulldozers and 1 free TV channel will incur substantial costs to the new government's budget despite the warnings of the Premier for vigilant and prudent financial spending. Government workers and members of Parliament employed before 2016 are the only employees in Niue governed under any superannuation scheme. The growing number of employees in the private sector do not contribute or are part of any superannuation scheme. The Niue government in September 2019 decided to seek the assistance of the Asian Development Bank or through the New Zealand Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade to conduct a feasibility study on establishing a national superannuation fund. Currently, Niue contributes about 1 million New Zealand dollars per annum through the Niuean Public Servants and the Niue Government Employer contributions to the GSF and ASB super funds. The former Sir Toke Talangi government had explored options with Kiwibank, which offers its own Kiwibank superannuation scheme for their own employees. BCN News obtained a copy of the proposal put to Cabinet in 2019, which suggested that the most logical method of establishing a national superannuation or provident fund would be through the Niue Trust Fund directly or established and maintained through an annual allocation from the Niue Trust Fund that would be set aside specifically for superannuation. The Niue Trust Fund, which is currently over 16 million New Zealand dollars, which may have an annual drawdown of up to 40% of interest derived over the previous year. The major issue of contention for any superannuation fund service for Niue would be the number of contributors, which are relatively small given the population of less than 2,000. The proposal highlighted the benefit of Niue establishing its own superannuation fund is that Niueans will have a direct opportunity to contribute to the country's development through their contributions. However, given that the number of contributors to a national superannuation scheme would be relatively low at the initial phase, the proposal noted it would be at least 20 to 30 years before there would be a draw-on of contributors' funds. Since the last ASB Super Trust scheme ceased in 2016, there are more than 100 public servants without superannuation cover and even more employees in the private sector. Former New Zealand High Commissioner Kirk Yates left the island yesterday after serving his term of 2 years. Speaking to BCN News, Kirk Yates expressed his gratitude and appreciation to the people of Niue, the government, members of parliament, private sector and civil society. He outlined his 4 ambitions that he set out to achieve during his term.
The first one on strengthening the connections. I've really tried to utilise the opportunity that the High Commission has to bring together New Zealanders, not always New Zealanders, but others that are working here, to introduce them in a wider sense to Niuean culture, to public service, private sector. The captains of industry is what I call them, to try and help people understand what it is that they're doing and to make new connections, because in the strength of for Niue going forward, I think, and for us in New Zealand, that connection is important. So once those can be explored further, hopefully I've helped with that. On the on the team, on the High Commission team and adding value, I think I as I say, that they're a strong team. They provide great support in terms of the services, and I'm sure most of the time you get great service from my team, and on the odd occasion where that may not have happened, apologies, that comes down to me. But on the services that we provide for you as New Zealand citizens and on the financing for the projects, they work really, really hard, and a key part of our role is to make sure that we can advocate for Niue needs with our teams back in New Zealand. So with the telling of the story, our Facebook is a place where you can go to see and to understand more about what that connectivity and what those projects are doing, and how we are working with Niue governments and their representatives to support the growth and development path of Niue toward a Niue Care Monoina. There's, in terms of tangible things, projects, there's been a range that I've been very pleased to be a part of, not least of which would be the Chancery, the new office that we have built while I've been here on Tapu Hill. It stands as a representation of our enduring relationship, and at the same time we were supporting the Taonga Niue building, which has been completed, a wonderful building and a wonderful facility, and overdue in terms of celebrating that culture and language and preserving that. There's been a number of others, the wharf, essential infrastructure which we help facilitate, but of course we work to support Niue to do that. The wharf strengthening, the solar panels, a lot has been said about that, but renewable energy is important, and to reduce the reliance on fossil fuels. So that's been completed while I've been here.
Yates has left with fond memories of Niue.
I'm going to miss many things. I value many things about Niue. Obviously the dramatic views from around the island, the wonderful adventures and swimming opportunities that we have here in the many different chasms and in the sea, the fishing, the food from all of the restaurants and cafes, and the catering is absolutely amazing. I've loved biking through the interior past all of those amazing gardens on my mountain bike. I broke my wrist doing that, going up Sakana Hill, so I'll never forget Niue for that. But all of those things and the people that I've met along the way, at the show days, at the events, the high school sports day, which again there was one today, which was great to be at, the primary school, all of those community events which demonstrate how strong society is here, how strong community is. Individual village communities, but community Niue as a whole. I really am going to miss that, and I really see cohesion there, which is Niue's strength.
Meanwhile, the former High Commissioner's departure was marred by a breach of protocols by certain senior government officials. BCN News understands that certain senior officials had turned up at the airport to farewell Yates. COVID-19 measures on the island include the restriction of family members and friends from meeting passengers at the airport. Kirk Yates hosted members of parliament and senior government officials at the New Zealand High Commission's residence last Friday evening. The new member from the village of Mutalau, in his maiden speech, informed the whānau that he has been informed of a petition filed to the Niue High Court. Ekepule Makaseo Ioane said that he could not discuss in detail the petition, but he felt it was necessary that the people in his village listening into the whānau ought to hear what's happening. The village seat of Mutalau was decided out of a hat earlier this month. This year is the second year in a row that this has happened. In the 2017 elections, it was the name of the former member Maureen Melekitama which was drawn from the hat. And finally, the annual sports day of the Niue High School was held on Friday last week. This year, Team Pua won the marching and the overall team champion for 2020. Families and friends gathered at Paliasi School grounds for the full day of athletics. Also, here are the highlights from the Niue Primary School Sports Day.
Selamat kali, Jeto, Tua. Total. Vamos. Tuloy na mahintak ka o Jeto. Hai, mai.
And that's BCN News. Thank you for watching. Do join us same time tomorrow. Until then, have a safe evening.